Our skaggers all front Donegal, it's like only Krone 2. We'll get them to slip and then we'll take a sip of the rare old Mountain Dew. Hi diddle-a-lum, hi diddle-a-lum, hi diddle-I-diddle-I-day. Hi diddle-a-lum, hi diddle-a-lum, hi diddle-I-diddle-I-day. There's a neat little stead at the foot of the hill, the smoke curls up to the sky.
Hi, my name is Naif Alharbi. I am from Swansea University, and this presentation is on behalf of the authors. The subject is molecular visualization of computational biology data, a survey of surveys. Molecular visualization is one of the oldest branches of data visualization. For more than 50 years, there have been developments in visualization for computational biology. In the last decade, due to the advancements in computational biology and computer visualization, molecular visualization field has witnessed a rapid development. This collection of images is an example of this development. As you can see, the quality of rendering the molecule, starting from peptide representation, which small molecules, all the ways to cell representation. In the publication aspect, which is one of the main points in this article, molecular visualization research were mainly welcomed from all the scientific community and published in well-known journals. However, over the time, scientific visualization fields have become more specialized, and due to the specialization, researches tend to be published in dedicated journals or references. As a result, researchers tend to end up with two different types of journals and conferences where molecular visualization research can be found, i.e. journals and conferences from computational biology and journals and conferences from computer visualization. This gap between the two fields makes this task especially difficult. A challenge may be published in one journal, while the solution may appear in another. Attempting to keep up with the sheer number of articles from these fields makes the situation worse and more difficult. This is the motivation behind this work. For people who are not familiar with molecular visualization, in the biology field, there are two approaches that are used to study the molecular structure and their dynamics: the experimental approach and the digital approach. The experimental approaches rely on special equipment, whereas the digital approach relies on molecular dynamic simulation systems. This survey focuses on literature reviews addressing the fields of molecular structure and modeling with a focus on molecular dynamic simulation data. As a static image, you can see the depiction of the discrete signal of protein in the left, and the most right image depiction the dynamic of cavity. Our contribution, as mentioned, there are two different venues that need to be investigated in order to ensure a researcher does not miss any interesting or important articles. And each venue has its journals and conference proceeding. Our contribution is that we bridge the gap between the two venues, and by identify unified state of the art from both community, and we highlight links and differences between these studies and identify present and future challenges in visualization of molecular dynamics. The selected surveys are classified based on their common topics, i.e. each group represents closely related surveys. We describe each survey and provide information about the publication of that survey. We performed a meta-analysis of the selected survey with respect to the origins of reference, shared references, and keywords. The first step in the analysis was extracting the references from the Scopus database. Then the references are analyzed using Python script. In order to categorize the references based on their origin, we can apply the following rule. If the reference was published in an ACM, IEEE, or in related conference, then it would be considered computer visualization. Otherwise, it would be considered computational biology. This figure shows us the distribution of the origins of references and their publication year. Blue indicates computational biology, and red is used to indicate computer visualization works. Even though some works were published before 1980, the selected surveys focus mainly on the last 25 years. If we look at the origin of the references, we can see that works from computational biology are more represented. Even the highlighted works from visualization, from computer visualization, cited numerous of computational biology articles. Sorry. We can explain this by hypothesizing that the technical orientation of computer visualization papers and the dissemination through very dedicated conference proceeding, conference, my prevent some researchers from being aware of these studies. Another reason is that some of the computer visualization paper my published only in conference proceeding, and they are not referenced in scientific articles, databases such as PubMed, which is commonly used by computational biology. This situation might cause large part of computer visualization papers to be almost invisible for computational biology researchers. This image shows us the shared references. The shared references are the references that are cited by all the selected surveys. Most of the shared references are associated with software from computational biology, except one reference which is from visualization, from computer visualization. I mean the quote mol, and quote mol is an example of the importance of making the computer visualization work visible for the computational biology. Another example also, quick surf by Krone et al., which was published in computer visualization conference, but also was available in a popular molecular visualization tool, VMD. The rest of the reference are surveys, with two of them are discussed in our survey. We also created an interactive parallel coordinates tool to analyze the text. From the analysis result, we can identify popular topics like cavities, which is mentioned in most of the surveys. On the other hand, some terms such as lipid reoccur very often, which indicate also an emerging of a new direction. Due to the advancement in computer graphics, especially the GPU technology, the affection and the quality of rendering static and dynamic dataset has been solved. However, there are more challenges that are yet to be solved. The ever increase in the simulation data in terms of structure and time has influenced the need for dealing with this challenge. A 3D annotation and filtering are required to understand the full complex of the molecular system. Applying human-computer interaction and virtual reality technology to help user to immerse in the system, automating rendering, analyzing, and storing result. Also, this is equally important. Finally, a huge gap still exists between the two fields. I mean computer visualization and computational biology. This gap poses a challenge to turn innovations works from computer visualization into useful tools for computational biology researchers. And also making respective research to these works from computer visualization available to the computational biology. We think that this target will require collaboration between the two communities, and our survey is an important step in this direction. Thank you.
Do you want to go to the next slide? Any questions or comments for Naif?
Any questions?
I have a comment. So if you go back to contributions, it was mainly the fact that a lot of what you said during the slide, you kind of already gone over in the introduction.
Yeah.
Essentially, what's important. So when you came back to this step, you kind of tread over what you said again, and it seemed like you noticed that.
You're right, yeah.
So,
Thank you.
maybe I don't have any ideas as to what to do with that, but I don't believe this is the second slide, is it?
It's the third, yeah.
Okay, so it's still quite close to the front.
So you went just so you know, you went for, it looks like 17 minutes, but I think it'll be shorter when you're at the venue, you know, because you'll be nervous probably. So, but it looks like it went for 17 minutes, just so you know.
Yeah, I tried to reduce some of the text, maybe help me.
I was going to say, because the pace was, at the beginning especially, the pace was really good, and you didn't rush things, but you were clear and concise. I think towards the end it trailed off, but it was, well, it was still good. I definitely thought that was, you were very clear, especially in the first half.
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe I start feeling I'm going run out of the time, so I start to.
So I always find that when if I think I'm going to run out, I panic, and then my mind goes blank and I have no idea what to say. I always do that. So I rush and then go,
We're done.
I don't know.
It's quite good when you've got the two screens like that. You've got a timer usually on the screen there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can kind of see where you are as you go. I find that quite useful to keep an eye on, really.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got it in front of you.
I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, I just thought you'd have
Just to practice, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I have some comments as well on slide 1. Anybody notice something missing?
The efficient.
Affiliations,
Yeah.
very, very important in this case,
Okay.
because that is part of the contribution,
Yeah.
the affiliations of this team. That is actually, it's a really important, right? So it's a mixture of visualization scientists and computational biology researchers, and that is an absolutely fundamental part of the
So who are the other authors then? Because who's
Baaden,
It's me.
That's Mohammed.
Mohammed.
Oh,
Mohammed.
It's the exact same.
It's good to see you. You guys are finding out about each other.
Oh, yeah.
Through these
Don't worry, I
practice
asked on
talks.
an email with the rest of the authors
Ah, okay.
who it was. So.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Rich meet Mohammed.
Yeah.
Mohammed meet Rich.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens that we all have the same surname,
Mm.
and it's common in my country. Also, the other guys there, they are not cousins. They are not quite close
Same.
relatives, but they
Yeah.
have Al-Qahtani, the same surname.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
English in Wales though, isn't it?
Also, Majida,
Germans,
it's
yeah.
the same surname as me.
Yeah.
Alharbi.
Yeah, amazing. Hers is slightly different, isn't it?
I'm sorry.
It's hers is slightly
Yes,
different.
it's
similar, but it's-
Al-Hayli.
Al-Raheli, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you go further, it's Alharbi at the end. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Ex Martinez.
So maybe
Yeah.
they are brothers or something. It's my first time I met him. In Bob's office.
Slide 2. You may want to just double check. This is I apologize for this. It's my fault. Well, it's not really my fault. It's the software's usability problem. But the slide numbers, you might
He's
want
got two.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, try to start from the first slide.
His slide numbers, he's got a 2 on there?
No, it's 3. But
Okay.
later on, it's different.
You see
I noticed you had 9 on,
Yeah.
and he had 10 on
I
one.
see. I
I
see.
hide the second slide, yeah, I remember.
I see.
Yeah, I
okay.
hide it.
Okay.
Did you make that image, or are those out of 4 separate images, or are they? Is that something?
image, isn't it?
Yeah, they are
Yes.
separated, just we collect them to.
So you put them together and you added the.
Not actually me,
Oh,
one
okay.
of the
Someone
team.
One of the
Okay.
co-authors put them
Okay.
together. Michael
Cool.
Krone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice image.
I think on this slide, it makes sense to mention the large volume of literature. So you did a great job by mentioning there are 2 sources of literature, but there's also a problem with just the sheer volume,
Yeah,
or it's a challenge, right?
fine.
So that would make sense to and yeah, that would make sense. And then in the next slide on scope, I think it would make sense to mention that you're doing a survey of surveys. I mean, for me, that was the original goal. Like, that was, in my mind, this was the main contribution. Yeah, it's the very first survey of surveys.
Would it be better if the contribution and scope were switched around? Because that was the contributions we discussed contribution in the introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you could
Yeah.
lead straight in, and you wouldn't have to repeat yourself too much.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
point,
slide
actually.
is,
Yes. It should be the same order as the paper,
Mhm.
and that corresponds to the order of the paper. And then on the slide on contributions, now we have like a bulleted set of contributions, don't we, in the paper itself?
Not really, actually. Yeah, we just describe them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I know that's the one of your statements.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we try to do. Anyways, it makes sense to look at the contributions in the paper and then copy and paste them in here.
Okay.
I think that there's a disconnect a little bit between what we have in the paper and what's on here. Because for sure, one of the contributions in the paper is the first survey of surveys. That is the main contribution,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I think it's great that we unified the Viz in the computational biology communities, but that was a secondary contribution. That was like retroactively fitted in there. It's a great observation, but it's a retroactive.
Should there be two papers saying they're the first in the same conference?
You say it's the first survey of surveys for computational molecular dynamics.
Defending his fingers.
Yeah, no.
Maybe we'd say that.
You specify for which subject area.
Oh.
Yeah.
It is the first in the.
No, mine's been presented first.
How can we the first and mentioned by our survey? His survey.
It's not accepted first, but mine's been presented first.
It's funny because his was accepted first, so technically, but I think yours was submitted first.
Yeah.
So, I think
It's a joint first.
Also,
joint
don't
first.
forget, he cited our paper.
yes,
Yeah.
he does.
So,
Yes, because we couldn't cite
Couldn't
his
go backwards
because it was
fully accepted.
the camera ready was already
That's funny.
It is funny. I hope some of the audience laughs too. Like if you say this is the first survey of surveys,
I'll be mentioning that soon.
you're
I'll
like,
assume.
wait a second.
I'm not
Is
straight at
this-
the end. You say it's the first. No.
Oh, I just want to pick is that, someone ask us a question.
No, but he's got the ultimate comeback in that yours references it. So
Yeah.
I know, I was nice enough to do it.
I thought it was conceded who came first there, really.
Yeah.
That's outright.
Yeah. So the on the slide on metadata, I think it would be really great to just describe the image, especially the axes. This image is really dense and full of information. So I think for the audience it will be really helpful if you say, okay, here's an image, and on the y-axis we see a list of survey papers, right? We want to mention that these are survey papers. These are not just, they're special. A survey paper is special, right? And on the x-axis we have time, the year or time, right? And then on the other y-axis we have the number of citations in each survey paper, and they're divided into two categories: computational biology. And if you just say, look at this image, here's this axis, I think you'll enjoy that too, because you won't need your notes as much.
Yeah.
Just sit back, relax, and describe each axis and the components, and it will be nice. Everybody will.
yeah, thank you.
I think you are mirroring the image, doing the effects.
There's a reflection, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a reflection that's very mysterious.
Is it from the screen or
No, I
view?
think I'm playing with image, so
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
effects, is it?
You might want to remove that.
yeah, I'm going to.
And the type. There's a reflection of the image below each image.
I thought it was.
I try to add frame to the image, just it's
And the slide title, I would make it more descriptive. I would turn it to metadata of survey papers.
okay.
Well, you have metadata analysis underneath it as well. There's like a subtitle. Yeah. Have you got more than one page of metadata or?
2 pages.
Oh, you do have 2 pages. Okay.
And in the metadata continued, you do want to add an E on the continue.
Okay.
I would do the same thing. So this image, in my opinion, I just a little history. I actually voted this image down. I didn't want to. I didn't want to include this image because I thought it was really confusing. But I was outvoted. That's okay. It's fine if I'm outvoted. But really, it makes sense to just sit back again and describe each axis.
Okay, yeah.
So we have, for example, on the lower x-axis, we have the most cited papers in the volume, the collective volume of literature in computational biology and visualization. So we've switched from survey papers in this previous slide to this case, which is actual individual papers, right? And then on the y-axis, we have the number. We have two y-axes here.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
Yes, it is very confusing. The number of reviews or the survey papers in our SOS citing that article.
Mm-hmm. That's on the actual axis.
That's the big y-axis.
And the numbers, the actual numbers, the amount of times those papers have been cited in total.
Collectively, yes. Well done. Well done.
Cited.
Yes. Really confusing.
Okay. That is a massive number.
It is. It's a highly cited paper.
16,000.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a serious. So if you write a piece of software for scientists and then it gets used, you'll get lots and lots of citations. So that's what that is. It's a piece of software for the visualization of molecular dynamics, and it's used as a product. Like, I think it's an educational research product, not a commercial one.
Interesting.
And therefore it is highly cited. And for the keywords and parallel coordinates, I would either not mention them or mention them with an image. But I wouldn't sit back and describe them without an image.
Okay, yeah.
I would either leave it out or put in an image.
Okay.
One possibility would be to create the slide and then put it somewhere at the end. You can always just check your time. You could check your watch too or something and say, okay, do I have enough time to talk about this? If you do, you can talk about it, or you might say, okay, we don't have enough time to talk about this slide, and we'll go to the next one. That's a possibility. Or in the question and answer session or something like that. And then the next slide, solve problems and future challenges. You want to add an S to the word problems. Solve problems, future challenges. Oh, you have an S on the second solve problem, so that's good. I mean in the title.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Those are all my comments. Any other comments or questions? Good. Thank you, Naif.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yes. So next week we'll have another survey.
The second survey.